HOA Karen torched my Tesla. She screamed when I showed the judge the 4K video. The acrid smell of melting lithium and burning rubber is a scent that stays with you. It coats the back of your throat like a layer of chemical ash, a reminder of violence that refuses to fade. My name is Marcus. For 20 years, I have lived on a 3-acre sanctuary of land that predates the Whispering Pines subdivision that now surrounds me. I am a retired Marine and a former police K-9 handler. I have spent my life serving my country and my community, valuing discipline, order, and respect above all else. Unfortunately, those values were foreign concepts to Susan, the newly elected and power-drunk president of the Homeowners Association. Susan viewed the world through a narrow lens of fear and control. If she couldn't regulate it, she hated it. And more than anything, she hated me. She hated that a black man lived on a larger, nicer property than she did. She hated my German shepherds, Rex and Duke. But recently, her venom had found a shiny new target, my brand new, midnight black Tesla Model S Plaid. I had worked hard for that car. It was a retirement gift to myself, a symbol of a new chapter. To me, it was a marvel of American engineering. To Susan, it was a death trap, an eyesore, and an excuse to escalate her harassment. It started the day I brought it home. Susan left bright orange notes on my gate claiming that electric vehicles emit radiation that harms children and that the humming noise disturbs the peace. She posted on the neighborhood Facebook group, hinting that certain people shouldn't be able to afford such expensive vehicles, implying that my money came from illicit sources. I ignored the noise. I knew who I was, and I knew the law. But Susan wasn't one to be ignored. She escalated from notes to fines, fake citations for unauthorized hazardous materials parked in my driveway. She spread rumors that the car was a bomb waiting to go off, and that I was endangering the entire community by parking it near the property line. I realized then that this wasn't just about a car. It was about control. So, I took precautions. I installed a military-grade 4K night vision security system covering every inch of my driveway. I hoped I wouldn't need it. I was wrong. It was 3:15 a.m. on a Tuesday when the world exploded. My phone buzzed on the nightstand with a perimeter breach alert. I grabbed my robe and checked the monitor. The feed was crystal clear. A figure was moving stealthily up my driveway, illuminated by the ghostly green of the night vision. It was Susan. She was wearing a dark hoodie, but there was no mistaking her erratic gait or the manic determination in her posture. In her hand, she carried a heavy red jerry can. I watched, frozen in horror for a split second, as she unscrewed the cap and began pouring gasoline over the hood, the windshield, and the charge port of my Tesla. "No," I whispered, the word catching in my throat. I grabbed the fire extinguisher from the hallway and sprinted for the front door, heart pounding against my ribs. But I was too late. On the screen, a flare lit up the darkness. Susan struck a match and threw a lit rag onto the vehicle. Whoosh! The gasoline ignited with a violent, concussive force. A fireball erupted, engulfing the front of the car and illuminating the night sky with an angry orange glow. I burst out the front door, the heat hitting me like a physical blow, singing the hair on my arms. "Are you insane?" I roared, running toward the inferno. Susan was standing there, bathed in the firelight, watching the flames with a look of twisted, euphoric satisfaction. She turned when she saw me, her eyes wild. "I told you," she screamed over the crackling roar of the fire. "It's a hazard. I'm saving the neighborhood." The fire was already out of control, the flames licking at the lithium battery pack beneath the chassis. I couldn't get close enough to use the extinguisher without risking my life. "Get back," I yelled, shoving her away from the car as the tires began to pop from the heat. "You just committed arson. You destroyed my car." Susan stumbled back, but she didn't run. She stood her ground, fueled by adrenaline and her warped sense of righteousness. "I abetted a nuisance," she shrieked, pointing a shaking finger at the burning wreck. "The HOA has the right to remove dangerous items. You wouldn't listen to the fines." I did what had to be done. The sirens were already wailing in the distance. I had hit the panic button on my way out. Within minutes, a fire engine and 3 police cruisers screeched into the driveway, their lights painting the scene in chaotic flashes of red and blue. Firefighters rushed past us to foam the car, battling the intense chemical fire that threatened to spread to my garage. Two officers ran up to us, hands hovering near their holsters. "What happened here?" one shouted, looking between the burning Tesla and the two of us. Susan immediately switched modes. The manic arsonist vanished, replaced by the weeping victim. "He did it," she lied, her voice pitching up into a sob as she pointed at me. "His car exploded. I told him it was dangerous. I saw the smoke and came over to help, and he attacked me. He pushed me. I stood there, watching my dream car turn into a skeleton of slag and ash." I looked at the officer, then at Susan, and I felt a cold, hard calm settle over me. The kind of calm I used to feel before a raid. "Officer," I said, my voice steady and deep. "I am a retired federal officer. That woman just poured gasoline on my vehicle and set it on fire because she doesn't like electric cars. I have the entire incident recorded in 4K resolution with audio." Susan's face went pale, the orange light flickering in her eyes. "Liar," she screamed, though her voice wavered. "He's lying. It's the battery. It malfunctioned. Everyone knows these cars are dangerous." The officer looked at the red jerry can lying in the grass where Susan had dropped it. He smelled the distinct odor of gasoline fighting the chemical stench of the battery fire. "Ma'am, step back," he ordered. "They took our statements, but they didn't arrest her that night. They needed to review the footage and wait for the arson investigator's report." Susan went home smug, telling the neighbors the next day that my cheap battery had almost burned down the forest and that she was a hero for spotting it. She even tried to fine me for the fire damage to the shared fence. She thought she had won. She thought her status as HOA president made her untouchable. She was wrong. 3 weeks later, we were in court. In a display of unmatched audacity, Susan had sued me for emotional distress and endangerment, trying to get a restraining order to force me to vacate my property. She stood before Judge Ramirez, a stern woman with zero tolerance for nonsense, and wept fake tears. "Your Honor," Susan sobbed, wearing a neck brace she hadn't needed the day before. "This man is a menace. His car exploded and nearly killed me. He is aggressive and violent. I fear for my life in my own neighborhood." Her lawyer, a man who looked like he chased ambulances for a living, nodded solemn agreement. "We are asking for $500,000 in damages and an order for him to remove all hazardous vehicles." Judge Ramirez looked at me over her spectacles. "Mr. Washington, do you have a defense?" "I do, Your Honor," I said, standing up and buttoning my suit jacket. "I would like to submit Exhibit A, the security footage from the night in question, unedited and time-stamped." Susan's lawyer objected immediately. "Relevance? We know there was a fire. It goes to the credibility of the plaintiff," I said calmly. The judge nodded. "Play it." The bailiff dimmed the lights. The large screen on the wall flickered to life. The courtroom went silent. The video was crystal clear. It showed Susan walking up the driveway, checking over her shoulder. It showed her pouring the gas. It showed her face, illuminated by the lighter, twisted in hate. And it showed her laughing, actually laughing, as the flames roared to life. The audio picked up her muttering, "Burn, you piece of junk." Then it showed me running out, trying to save the car, and her screaming that she was abating a nuisance. The video ended. The lights came up. The silence in the courtroom was heavy, suffocating. Susan was gripping the table, her face the color of white chalk. Her lawyer was slowly moving his chair away from her. Judge Ramirez stared at Susan, her expression terrifyingly blank. "Mrs. Miller," the judge said, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "Did you just perjure yourself in my courtroom?" Susan stammered. "It was edited. Deep fake. That's not me." "The timestamp matches the police report," the judge snapped. "And the arson investigator found traces of accelerant on your shoes that matched the gas in that can." The judge slammed her gavel down hard. "Case dismissed with prejudice. Bailiff, take Mrs. Miller into custody. I am holding her in contempt, and I am recommending the district attorney charge her with first-degree arson, perjury, and filing a false police report." Susan screamed as the bailiff moved in. It was a raw, primal sound of a woman who realized her privilege had just expired. "You can't do this. I'm the president." It was a hazard. 2 deputies hauled her away, kicking and screaming, dragging her out the side door. I won the civil suit that followed. I sued her for the value of the car, the damage to my garage, punitive damages, and emotional distress. I took everything. Her house in Whispering Pines was sold to pay the judgment. She is currently serving 8 years in a state penitentiary. As for me, I used the settlement money to buy the new Model X, the one with the falcon wing doors. And I park it right in the driveway, under the lights, shining like a trophy. Every time the neighbors walk by, they wave respectfully. The tyrant is gone. The air is clean. And revenge? Revenge is best served with a 4K video file. Susan thought she could burn my property and lie her way out of it. But she forgot that in the digital age, someone is always watching. If you loved seeing this arsonist get exactly what she deserved, smash that like button. And tell me in the comments, do you have cameras at your house? And have they ever caught a neighbor doing something crazy? Let's talk. Subscribe for more stories of ultimate justice.